Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Reselling Podcast EVER. Hello, Blake. Hello, Granny. How are you both today?
Good morning.
Very well, but I wish you would press record right at the start of the countdown because it always worries me and I sit in the background going, press record, press record, press record.
I don't know about you, Granny, but I like to live dangerously. What about you, Blake? You look with that facial hair, you look like you live dangerously also.
Oh, I do, yeah, on the right on the edge of the law at all times.
That's right, yeah. I was about to say, if ever a milk bar was going to be robbed, I know who I could blame. So anyway, so we're... as we alluded to yesterday in the live that we did, we're actually rebranding the Reselling Podcast EVER. So we're actually going to put it out to the general public, I suppose you could say, to all the humans or boys and girls, as Granny would say. Yes. I don't know what Blake would say. He normally falls asleep before we get to ask him what's going on. But, but yeah, so keep an eye on my Instagram, and I'm sure that Blake and Granny will share it over the next couple of days as well. So a bit of background. So Granny and I, when we first started, we're pretty bad at the podcast. We're not going to lie. We're still pretty bad at it. We're just a little bit worse now that Blake's come on board. But trawling through the internet, I found some other podcasts, and I don't think we could comfortably say we're the worst anymore. So, we're
in all honesty, after watching some of the ones that we found, even when we first started, we weren't the worst right from the start. We were just claiming we were the worst.
That's right. So we're fraudsters and hypocrites and everything in between. So maybe all those haters. I was going to say maybe all those haters, after all, have been right all along, Grady.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, but how are you, Blake? We last year right up, so you don't fall asleep. So.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just chilling. Yeah,
chilling,
making barely any sales and living my best life, and it's hot. So
that's good.
yeah,
well, obviously, I can see you've lost your shirt already. So
I know, and it's less shipping to do if I don't sell anything. So I'm happy.
Oh yes. Well, look, I mean, you live in Ballarat, and you claim that it's hot. So what's the temperature going to get there today?
31, but it's above 18 degrees, which means I am hot.
Yes, well, look, just feel sorry for me in a couple of hours because it's going to get to 37 here. So it will be hot.
Wait a second. Ooh, as the only octopus out of water here, I think I lay claim to the most hard done by. So you can all be quiet and go back to your respective areas.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, since we're trying our new shortened format, we're going for an hour, so we'll have to get through to the topic. We can't dribble on for 45 minutes. So today we're going to talk about advertising and building a brand. And before you all click off and run away and go, oh no, not another promoted listings talk about all that crap. We're not talking about promoted listings. I can't control Blake because he's quite unruly with his facial hair. But I suppose the basis is. This one applies to new resellers and I suppose moderate resellers. All right. So basically, I would class myself as a moderate reseller. No way am I near the top. And Blake and Granny will probably fall into that category as well. So if you have been selling for a little bit or you've been selling for a while, this probably episode will teach you, or hopefully seek to teach you, a little bit about advertising, building a brand. This is only from my perspective, Granny's perspective, and Blake's perspective. So, like I said, don't take it for gospel. Take some hints and tips away, and obviously build your own perspective. But see how you go. Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about what we did to finish up where we are now, which is nowhere. But that's good.
Well, that's right. Well, that's exactly right. I suppose the most fakest character that we've got on the panel, Blake. So, what have you done for your advertising, mate?
Have my own personal brand. Not a lot. Really?
You've only just rebranded.
Yes. Yeah, I've rebranded. So originally I thought that the advertising of my YouTube channel, for example, would be good having the name, Life of a Reseller and all that kind of things. It'd show up well in search and stuff. And, I don't know how much of a factor that was into growing my brand and stuff, but, it got there, but I decided it was time I needed to rebrand and actually, rebrand around myself rather than just, a name or a segment of Life of a Reseller, which isn't really a name in the first place. So, I thought that I would be able to be more, I don't know, it's more of a personal thing, having my name as me and building the brand around myself. I decided to do that, and that opens up the avenue for all kinds of different content as well. Just in business in general, not just reselling. But I think it was a good change for my personal future. I guess you could say.
Well, I was originally Groggy's Patch, if you remember, back a little ways, because that was sort of like my surname's Grogan, and I'd previously had a small business that was called Groggy's Patch, where I made sewing kits. And, so that was my original one. But then Grumpy Granny kind of developed organically over time because, I was going into the chats and things and, the live chats and things, and, people like Octo here were giving me grief for being old, and so then they all started calling me Granny, and then somehow, I think it might have been Wayno might have been the first one to call me Grumpy one night, and it just developed. And so I thought, well, hey, look, why don't I run with it?
Well, that's right. So basically, like this episode, we'll probably much talk about, and whilst we're talking about reselling and eBay and all those different things, I think building a brand transcends eBay and transcends reselling and all those different things. You might only be starting off and looking at selling things around the house, but you want to kind of promote yourself a little bit better. And that, like Granny was saying, is that put yourself out there. If you're into reselling groups or into Facebook groups, or by all means, don't put yourself out there if you look like Blake without a paper bag over your head. But but the thing is that just start promoting yourself. You're like, put yourself in live chats, say hello to people and all these different things, and create a persona, or like Grumpy Granny or even Blake for all those different things, and start building a brand for yourself. Because I think the way that I look at it, and this is what I want this episode to probably transpire as well, is to transcend into, is that eBay is transitionary, right? So you want to kind of build a customer base on eBay, if that's what you're wanting to do. Then you want to try and move that customer base to other platforms. So, if you're selling Skylanders, or you're selling, Beloved Ghastly, what I've got here, keep an eye. They'll change every week, so keep an eye on them. You can redirect your customer base to Shopify or something along the lines of that. If you, for example, Blake, and we spoke about this before, is when he was Life of a Reseller on YouTube, besides being an incredibly stupid name, and I'm joking, Blake, I love you. I don't know about but like you're saying, that's quite limiting to his brand appeal, right? So he's once he gets to past 1,000 subscribers, he's going to be kind of almost locked into that that reselling niche. But with branding as his name, he's got more avenues he can invest into, and all obviously diversify his portfolio in that respect. And I suppose that's why Grumpy Granny and myself, I can't speak to Leanne, but I will anyway, is that we're generalist names. So we're Grumpy Granny and we're Disgruntled Octopus. We're not Grumpy Granny Flips or the Disgruntled Octopus Picks or something along that. While our channels might have an affiliation with that, we're associated with our names more than what we actually physically do. So we can build a bit of brand from that, and that transfers across to eBay as well. So that's what I find.
It also gives you the opportunity, I think, which is what I've discovered, to actually go into other side hustles and things and have that instantly recognizable brand. And, like for me, I've made the second YouTube channel that I've got now, which, I've only got one video on there, but I'm hoping to do another one today. But that's Grumpy Granny Reads. So I can extend that Grumpy Granny into other areas and have it still be instantly recognizable, because it's not, flipping Grumpy Granny.
Yeah, that's right. And Blake, like he was saying, he wants to get into world domination as well. Like he wants to do all these different things, and I suppose it's more threatening being Blake like Gorfine opposed to Life of a Reseller when you get into that niche. But
that's right.
But what do you find? You should have used the Lithuanian version of the pronunciation.
Yeah, we're not going to mention that.
But I suppose what I want to ask you though, Blake, is that like if someone just hypothetically, Uncle Wayno, for example, is looking at rebranding him, did you have any hiccups that you've rebranded so far, or have
not really
pushback?
No, I haven't. No, the only thing that people have mentioned, it's just New Year's resolution thing, but which it wasn't. It was just the timing of it. But I've had no pushback at all, because everyone knows me as Blake, Life of a Reseller anyway, so everyone knows that it's me. And I've kept the picture the same as well, so everyone recognizes the logo and the branding, thumbnail style, all that sort of stuff is all the same. The video format, that stuff's all the same. The only thing that's different is the name. And not a lot of people probably knew me last name. But overall, I was still recognizable for being what I am, and I was never like, "Hi, I'm Life of a Reseller." I'm Blake, so it was already kind of there in the background, in everywhere except the name.
Yeah, and then in the groups too, it makes it much easier now that you're just Blake, because even in the Discord, like I would always want to, if I was making a comment to you, I felt that I should use your name Blake, so I'd always put Blake at Life of a Reseller. So yeah, now I can just do Blake.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot easier, and I guess too, my last name is very uncommon. Like there's not many people in the world that have my last name, so that in itself is recognizable as well. So going forward into the future as well, like a lot of people won't know how to say it, like everyone always mispronounces it, but like that's almost like a little brand thing in itself, because it is such an uncommon last name.
You wouldn't want to be Blake Smith, would you?
No, well that's right, because then that's just it's probably however many of them around, so it's I'm sort of lucky in that respect. So yeah, it was not necessarily going to say it was a smart move, but I think it was a smart move going forward into that rebranding.
And you like, I'm not going to. It's not meant to be derogatory, even though everything else I say about you normally is. But you're not at that. You're not at that point in the like with your YouTube channels and all those different things. You're not that far into it. So if you're obviously had 100,000 subscribers or 200,000 subscribers,
it'd be different.
It'd be a lot harder to to rebrand yourself and all those different things. But because how much you got now? About two and a half, 3. 160.
1.6, I think, million.
Yeah. So so you're just little beast. Basically, So but like I said, it's quite accessible from that. But I suppose what I found quickly is that you need to start, like, I suppose, differentiating yourself from your competitors, right? And this is what, like, we'll loop back into eBay, is that what can you do yourself, like, if you're selling things, and a lot of people start off as everything sellers, right? And they move to obviously different those things. So I'll show you an example in a second. What I do different to my competitors is that because I know the Skylander niche quite well, and I know a little bit. I'll make sure I make myself aware of what the customer wants to do. So basically the customer is what the primary focus is for this thing, right? So I'll just bring up a listing that I'm working on at the moment for the Skylanders. But what I normally do here is I actually refer to the customer as the portal master. So when you first boot up Skylanders, it actually refers to the player as a portal master. So having that in-depth knowledge for the customer, like I said, you don't have to go digging into it. It only took me 3 or 4 seconds to do a little bit of research as to what the customers do, all these different things. So even branding yourself doesn't necessarily need to be quite handsome like this character here, or not so. But anyway, like it's branding in the sense but branding in the sense that where you what your customer wants, and you're separating yourself from your competitors from those different things. Because if you look at other Skylander listings, it's like, we combine postage, don't pay more than $11 combined postage, and that's the description. Like when I further go out to say that I've actually tested all the characters, I've factory resetted the characters and all those different things. So if Blake and I are selling the same Skylander for the same price, that's competitive edge over for Blake to do all these different things. So like branding, like you said, you don't have to dress up as an old lady or dress up as whatever.
It's fun though.
Yeah, what's right? Whatever Blake's dressed up as, like, is it a Mexican? Is that what you're dressed up as?
Yeah.
But it's Halloween every day for Blake.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think too, like, so for me, being Grumpy Granny and putting myself out there as that older person, and because a lot of what I gravitate to is vintage. That works really well too, because I use that as my advantage, because that's my era anyway. Like, so I do know that stuff, and it's I'm always finding stuff that, this is stuff that I used to wear back in the day, but you can wear it now too.
Yeah, and anything you can do to build a a connection with either whether it is like a YouTube or Instagram thing where you're building a connection with your audience and it's quite inclusive, or if you're doing it through eBay or something with your customers, you're building that connection as well. Like with my old channel, when my name was That Aussie Hunter, I'd have a simple name and I'd call my audience hunters. So every single video I'd be like, "G'day hunters." So it's like basically just that little thing that they can be
you mean like hello boys and girls?
Yeah, it's like I'm part of this thing. This is my thing as well.
Yeah.
Like anything you can do to build a connection or a relationship there is something as simple as that. Then, or like you do with saying the portal masters in the eBay listing and stuff like that. Like it's it's already becomes like that product's already theirs in a way.
Yeah, that's right. They're exclusive. They're included in the little cult that you've built for yourself. So it's good from that perspective. But Blake's 100% correct. Yeah, Granny's got her boys and girls, and I normally say morning humans, and Blake will say good morning hunters, whatever he did. Yeah. I'll put Blake's gaming. I'll put Blake's gaming channel in the description because it's actually quite good. Go slither over there and check that out. So all
it's horribly inconsistent. You might see it's 5 videos for me in a week, or you might see one a year. Right. So
but that really comes down to it, right? Like, I would say Blake's pretty introverted. Would that be correct, Blake?
Oh, extremely, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a shy dude.
Yeah, and I find a lot of people, like where I suppose Granny and me are probably more extroverted. Like I don't.
Gee, I don't know what would have given you that idea.
I don't particularly care what people think. Anyway, getting back to like what we were saying is that a common thing that I find across talking to people that want to get into YouTube or Instagram, all these different things, is that I'm introverted and I don't want to do it because I don't feel comfortable in that environment, but I think, like you said, and especially in this climate, a lot of people are saying, hey, eBay's popping off or it's going dead. Yeah, really, either side of the argument is that, but you wanted to give yourself a competitive advantage. And what, like Blake was saying, is you're building yourself a customer base, you're building yourself an audience and all these different things. And you can redirect them because, if you're on Instagram or on YouTube, when you build, just hypothetically, a couple of years down the track, you build a Shopify platform or you build a website that, you can sell your products like Grumpy Granny with the hair rollers or Blake with whatever Blake sells, jeans. Like Blake might want to go into wholesale. You might want to go into wholesale. So, he might be able to, because by virtue of, having that online presence, Blake Gorfine, you just go to his website, then you can pick up wholesale lots where he's imported through those different things. So, don't let your personality type be a hindrance, because I think the biggest and the best, like the advice that I got, when starting a YouTube channel was from Burnout. So Mel and I had a bit of a chat, and she said the first 100 videos you do are horrible. So, Granny, we really need to pull we really need to pull our finger out. We've only got 30 to go before we're supposed to be good. I think we're going to be pushing uphill.
I've got over 270 on my channel.
Oh no, so it might be first 1,000 for Granny, but the thing is though, that I don't, and like I've said numerous times, is I don't like doing videos by myself, but I've released a new little I suppose, what would you call it, a series, Granny, like the Dear Octo series, where I'm forcing myself to do it. Like whilst I'm quite extroverted and happy to do things, I just don't like talking to myself, and I don't like the sound of my own voice. That's why I prefer to have a panel on where we talk to things that I can bounce off people and insult poor Blake. But
whereas I'm actually quite okay sitting talking to myself, so it's fine.
You can insult me even more. I've got exactly 69 videos on my channel.
Oh, look at that! There you go. That's the only time Blake's seen that. Anyway, get back to my story.
You dirty boy.
How come I managed to get so many videos on mine then? I don't get that, but anyway.
See, because of quality.
Now. Some of mine recent ones are very good quality. I won't say much about my very first ones.
Yeah, but like we're going to say is that your original content, you're going to come up to trips, you're going to come up to different things, but consistency is the key. Like, Grumpy Granny's over 250 videos and she still hasn't got it right. So there's nothing short. But you just need to do it, all those different things. But I do think that when you're starting your YouTube channel, you're starting your eBay store, like a lot of people does. I don't know, Chris Furlong started in this way as well, is that start documenting your journey. Like maybe it might be just a case of starting yourself off as Blake, and he's doing thrifting stuff, so you might just take some photos when you're at the thrift store and take photos and upload them onto Instagram. Then you naturally build organic followers and go through that way, and then you're building your brand. And a brand's not going to build overnight, so.
No, but I do have to say, and you mentioned Instagram, and I think Instagram is a great tool to help you build a brand, and for a couple of reasons. So you can put just photos up and post about photos, or you can put photos in your story. But one of the big advantages I think it has is that you can either use photos to create a reel, or you can actually film a little reel and do that on there. But you can also download that and then upload that to YouTube and use that as your initial content on YouTube to get your channel started. Like, because you've made a reel for Instagram doesn't mean it has to stay there. You can actually share that onto YouTube, and that's a great way to start doing something like that.
Yeah, you can cross post things differently. Like that's what I did with my gaming thing. I made videos for TikTok, which then went onto Instagram, which went onto YouTube, which went onto Facebook. So it's 4 different platforms for the exact same video. And that was really a good way of doing it. And that's how like I was able to grow the YouTube, is because I built an audience of, I think I got 15,000 something followers on TikTok, which actually a lot of them translated over onto YouTube as well. So, even if it's only 1%, like it's still worth posting things onto different.
So I haven't ventured into the TikTok space.
Don't start off, Blake. Don't start off.
Well, no. Well, how do you think my rap video would go on TikTok?
It'd probably go off, actually.
I would get bullied, would I? No, I won't put it up.
TikTok audience are very much different.
Trolls.
Like if you ever see any flipping videos or anything like that, you read the comments, it'll be like, these people are stealing from the poor, these people are scumbags, get a real job. Like that's pretty much all the TikTok audience is just going to be like that. But if you don't care, it could be a really good way of growing an audience.
I think I was watching Theatre City Flips, shout out for his channel membership. There you go. I just did a bit of trash to cash name dropping in that sense. But I was watching. I think J Ride Flips was on his live earlier in the week. And he basically said with TikTok, you just launch the video and you run away. So you don't follow the comments or you engage with them. So basically you try and bait them to be more angry than they are. So that triggers the algorithm even further. So
you get more comments.
So what really, like you probably need a thick skin, and you do need a thick skin for social media, right? Like, you do have people that live in their parents' basements. Hello, Graham. How are you going?
Hello, Graham.
So you live in your parents' basement, and we love Graham. We're only joking. But you do have people that probably don't have that much human contact. They don't really know how to engage with people online. Or sometimes they're called trolls or keyboard warriors, but. I don't know about Granny or Blake, but I just ignore it, or I respond to them back, I just respond back to them, friendly. It's like, oh, thanks for watching, if they get triggered by that, I'll just keep engaging with them and, dragging them along for my own nefarious reasons. But, like you said.
I've really only had one like that wanted me to actually, it was all about when we started doing when we started doing the nuclear resets, and I put, when I was doing that end and sell similar or something in my nuggets, and someone had a shot at me and wanted me, well, where's the proof that works? Well, we've talked about the proof many times on here and on other places. And I just said to him, oh, thanks for watching. Just go and check out our other content and you'll soon see. Because I didn't want, that wasn't content that I thought was suitable for my channel. So I didn't want to put all that there. Oh, he's back.
Oh, well, he's unset the computer again. Yeah, but the thing is though that I suppose you need to know what your audience is, right? Like personally, me, what I didn't do at the start, so I didn't define a definitive audience of what I wanted to cater to. I kind of threw the pasture at the wall and seeing what stick. That. I suppose that we have discussed previously that we want to probably be a transferable channel, so it's not so much exclusive just to Australia content. We want to appeal to to more of an international audience as well. So that's not trying to exclude ourselves out for the Australians, but we want to try and bring a bit of Australian culture to the international market. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's we kind of we play to that strength, right? So we won't. So what it really comes down to is knowing your audience as well, because if you alienate your audience or you start annoying your audience, you'll lose your audience very quickly. But that's not to say that you can't be genuine. Like I said, that you need a bit of authenticity for when you go into like you can't pretend you're someone else and all these different things. But on the flip side is need to be very mindful of what your audience is. So my demographics, probably the 45 to 65 range. So that's kind of what I suppose be classed as an older demographic in the YouTube space. So I wouldn't be using slang that's only relevant to Blake because Blake knows what I'm talking about, but I'm alienating my audience from that perspective. So
well, quite interestingly, I had an older demographic, mostly females, more females to males. But interestingly, since I've been doing my shorts, my demographic has changed a lot, and my now top thing is sort of that 25 to 30 sort of age group, and I've got more males watching now than females. So that's interesting with the shorts. So obviously boys don't have as long a attention span as females.
What'd you say?
I don't know.
Exactly.
That goes to show though the different viewing types of different kind of content though. Like the longer, more infotainment, I guess you could say, content is more geared towards that older demographic, but the short form stuff is much more on that younger demographic.
And I think that, Grumpy Granny and I, Blake, I think he does shorts, so I won't comment for him, but I think we were quite late to the shorts game. And, like if I was to start a YouTube channel now, I'd probably start, maybe shorts just to ease people into the channel. Then, we go on from a long form from there, because we're finding that we're getting more subscribers through the short form, which, I don't see as, I won't say quality subscribers, because they're in two different demographics, right? So we do 2 weekly shows of about an hour each, but someone like with an expansion span of 30 seconds aren't going to tune in for that. So,
exactly. Yeah.
So you need to be mindful of that audience from that perspective as well. So
and it could be twofold too, because like if you're mainly, you want the people to basically focus on your long form content and people subscribe for your long form content. If you start pretty much just putting out a lot of short form content too, that's almost, your people that have subscribed for the long form stuff will be like, oh, this is the route that this channel's taken. I don't want to be here. And the same as the people that subscribe for the short form. If you do short form and then you're like, okay, I'm just going to be a long form creator now and not do any short form, you're going to probably lose a lot of subscribers too, because all those people aren't there for that reason. So it's a social media in general and a lot of things is just a balancing game. It's a tightrope really on how you really handle it. So
you've got to get that mix, I think, and that's where if you can get that right mix, which I think is what I've got at the moment. I'm putting out generally one short every day, which is generally probably a little bit more humorous sometimes than what I do I'm always pretty funny, I think, in my long-form content. But my long-form content is also probably more evergreen, that I'm not going to get heaps of views because I'm not making, like the latest news today. But it's stuff that people, because it's the tutorial stuff, people will come back and watch it. And it's still going to be relevant in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah,
that's right.
And I think that where I've gone, because the basis of when Grumpy Granny and I started this podcast, so we're trying to do a podcast where people could just work in the background, listen to the background, and not necessarily have to be stuck to the computer screen for an hour and a half, or 4 hours. I think was our longest podcast. So basically, and likewise for our live, someone, if they're watching in the background or they're listening in the background, or they got some spare time, they can actually go from there as well. But I suppose what I want to do now is what Blake was saying is kind of juggle it a little bit, that trickle feed the audience with a short a day or 2 shorts a day, then also do a Dear Octo. And I'm still undecided if that will be a daily thing or it'll be a maybe 3 times a week thing, but it depends on the questions that get asked in Facebook groups, because please keep pumping them out, because they're helping me. I won't say that they're hilarious, because I'm trying not to put anyone down, but they're definitely helping in that respect. But I suppose that you just need to be consistent, and and it's no different to eBay, right? You need to build your brand from that way. I know we talked a little bit about YouTube, so I'm going to try and steer it back to eBay, unless Blake or Leanne want to talk about something about YouTube quickly.
No, well, I was just going to mention with the Instagram thing, because as I said, I think Instagram's a great place to help build your brand, but you do need to be mindful with Instagram that you're not overdoing it. I mean, I did go through a period where I was overdoing it quite a bit, and putting up too much stuff, and that also puts people off, because you're putting up too much stuff, and that's all people are getting in their feed, and then they get annoyed because that's all they see. So you've sort of got to get that balance, but it is, as I said, it's a great tool to use.
Yeah, so people will forgive you if you go for a couple of weeks. We overboard, because I think when Lee and I started the podcast, we'd keep sharing each other's stories. So it was almost like one of those reverse mirrors that we keep 18 times, and people were just reaching out to me and say, "All right, enough," kind of thing. So, but like I said, we learned quite quickly, to turn that back and all those different things. But going on to eBay, about building a business plan on eBay and all those different things. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Oh, well, I was just going to say, because one of the other things that I learnt early on with Instagram, and it is something, and I see even seasoned Instagram users still doing it, is that my oldest son, who does use a bit of that sort of stuff and is very tech savvy, he got onto me very early on, because when I was doing a story in particular, too many words, people can't read it in the length of time that it's on the screen. And he said, it's actually, Mum, he said, it's meant to be like a a photo image more based thing with a little bit of text, not a whole heap of text and a tiny little picture.
Yeah. And I suppose that like, yeah, and I'll use that point to refer back to eBay, right? Like, yeah, it's the same thing for your listing photos. You don't really want to oversaturate or, overstimulate the person you're buying, right? So if you, for all theoretical reasons, if you're a handsome 8-foot octopus and you want to do all these different things, you might be inclined to put little octopus plushies around the listings and have all the pretty and all these different things. But that's going to overstimulate. It's not going to build your brand. It's going to hurt your brand. So what you want to do is have a nice, clean picture, but like use your brand inside. Like I said with the listing description or the title, for example. I use a little octopus emoji at the back of the listing to people.
Yes, and if you are going to do that, put it at the tail end, not at the front.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so because your first 4 or 5 words are the keyword, so you're wasting a keyword on those different things. So like I said, that use that, and it's not very effective on the mobile because it obviously cuts off the title. But if people are actually using the computer, they can actually see the octopus. Then the more and more listings that you have in that category for Skylanders, for example, the more and the more the little octopuses appear up. Yep. And people, it's almost like a subconscious thing. They'll actually go, "Oh, I've seen that before," and they'll start drawing people to your branding and that. And that's quite a cheap, easier way to brand that perspective. And I know, like Sarah, that we spoke about the Skylanders a couple of weeks ago. She does the same thing with a fox because she identifies, her stores with a fox, all those different things. So, like you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on, like making profiles and images and all these different things. Like with Blake's, his is generated by AI. In Grumpy Granny, I think she's made it. A couple of things through AI as well. Is that these things are free? Well, as far as I'm not aware that either Blake
was when I did it.
Yeah,
it's not now what I used, but it was when I did.
Well, and even some of the apps that I used on my phone to make my cartoon sort of images, they were great, and you got a free trial. So basically, I just got a heap of photos, and I got the free trial, and I went wham bam bam over the weekend, and put a few enough through that I had what I wanted, and so then I was able to finish when it was supposed to pay. I cancelled it. So
yeah. But like I said, well, that's exactly right. And like I was saying, is you don't have to go out and fork out, lots and lots and lots of money just for something that you're going to do. And like I've said numerous times, and we said it in a podcast maybe last week or the week before, I'm losing track. But don't go out and spend exorbitant amounts of money on starting an eBay business. And that translates to YouTube and Instagram as well. Is that stick with it for maybe 2 or 3 months first before you start branding and all those different things because. You probably don't necessarily know what you want to get into. You don't know what you've got available to you. You don't know, about the product and all these different things. So you may want to start off as an everything seller for the first 3 to 6 months, then start going, I know a little bit about what I sell now. I sell candles, or I sell bath bombs, or I sell, like massage cream or whatever, moustache cream or whatever. Like
bananas in pajamas.
Yeah, bananas in pajamas, or plush, like Christian, Forest Flying's online. He's known as the Plush King. So you can always say that that's almost like a branding that's happened organically behind him because he picks up a lot of plush and all those different things. So you don't necessarily have to think about what you want to call yourself now. As soon as you start, but start like Leanne, Groggy's Patch or Life of a Reseller, because a lot of YouTubers were doing all those different things at the start of their.
Oh, looks like the dog's going. Yes.
The Amazon delivery driver's here and the front door's open, so I'm going to rectify.
Oh, dear. The joys of doing recording this way when things happen in the background. Yes.
That's
good.
Right. I've taken care of the dog. I've taken care of the dog. He's been launched into space as we speak. So.
Oh, poor puppy.
Well, he is. So he's going to be the first. He's going to be the third dog in space. So,
and look, there's little things you can do with your eBay store too. I think if you're trying to build that following and you want customers to come in and recognize your store, just little things like actually bothering to put that little logo in, and you can use tools like Canva. Take some photos of yourself. If you want to use a picture of yourself or whatever you want to, pop it into Canva, and you can actually create a logo, but you can put that image in and then tell Canva to actually remove the background. And that's how I do my YouTube thumbnails and why I've got so many images with nothing in the background. And I can put that on top of my thumbnail, or I can use it as one of my little logos. and put that in, because then that starts to become recognisable along with the name eventually. But just, do something that's recognisable.
Yeah. And the best tool that anyone has for, whether it's eBay, YouTube, anything they're doing with their brand and stuff, the best tool anyone has is what everyone's got anyway, is your phone. You don't need to pay special cameras. You don't need to pay for different setups and stuff. And a lot of stuff, like you say, is free. And, I don't know if with Canva, the remove background thing is, one of the paid features these days, like it used to be. But if it is, then you got websites like remove.bg that's completely free. You can remove backgrounds and then create your own photos with the trial thing of Canva or whatever. So you don't need to fork out a lot of money to build a brand or to do anything like that. There's so much free stuff.
They've got orange.
I didn't see that. There we go. We're just creating ourselves a new brand.
Yeah,
we're going to be orange tags now. But
I guess that brings it into it too. Like though, but color is a big thing. Like that, like all the text in all my thumbnails is yellow. So that's, so that's a recognizable thing as well.
Well, that's also what Granny's done for the reselling podcast ever. Like, I can't show it on the other side because Granny's on that side. But little images that are associated on the bottom other side, Leanne. But the thing is, like I said, recognizable images or recognizable different things that makes it easier and makes it just stick out. Like I think for me, if I was creating a new eBay store or all those different things, like the emoji at the end of the listing would probably be the basis for your advertising. But that only seems to work if you're selling like-for-like products, like video games, or you're selling all clothes, all those different things. Like it becomes, whilst I'll still use it as an everything seller, I'm very selective of what I put the octopus on because I sell jeans, but I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of jeans, so I wouldn't necessarily put the octopus on the end of that. So
and you also want it so that if it's a category that you've got plenty of listings in, so that because the idea is really, as the person is scrolling down the page, they're going to constantly see that thing, and they've been into one of your listings, even if it wasn't what they wanted. But they went into your listing, they saw that you had really good photos and that you had a really good description. They're actually going to be drawn to, when they do find the one that's in the right size or the right colour, they will think, that's it. They'll have good photos and they'll go in.
Yeah, and that's right. And I suppose further to that, you're almost niching yourself inside your niche for that character, right? So, like hypothetically, I'll use the octopus emoji, right? Like, if I want my brand to be, solely Skylanders, for example, and I only attach that little octopus to the Skylanders, that's what, like Leanne was saying, is when you're scrolling through your Skylanders, you see that octopus appear. But the likelihood of that person buying Skylanders looking for jeans in the same transactions pretty low. So they're not going to be like going, I just bought Skylanders off the octopus, I'm going to go buy a pair of jeans. I'm not saying it's unheard of, and I reckon someone will probably put in the comments that I thought that. But I'm not saying it's unheard of. But like I said, they all want to be known for the octopus to go for Skylanders, Grumpy Granny wants to be the vintage book lady, so that she has an identifying factor that she does that, or Blake for his jeans and all those different things, because he's an expert in what he sells, is that he might draw people and all those different things. Because what I was saying earlier, if you do want to eventually move off platform, and I think that the natural progression is that, and quite quickly, I'll do a little side of it. I kind of get a little bit annoyed when you see, especially American YouTubers saying, "Hey, I want to be on eBay until I die," and all these different things. Well, for starters, the octopus doesn't die. He lasts forever. Hello, hello, people from the future. But the thing is, though, that I think that you need to have a plan B, and I know we've spoken about this before. Is that if that's like I said, that when you start selling things, maybe put $1 away or $2 away, or put a percentage away that you can actually start redirecting to side projects, like what Blake was doing. What he's saying, he's doing other projects, so that not necessarily reselling. That could be doing finance, or he could be selling cars, or he could be doing anything else other than that. But if you're redirecting a percentage of your revenue to other factors, like maybe you might be building a website that looks professional, and that you sell Skylanders on that. I probably wouldn't recommend making an everything seller website, because it kind of defeats the purpose of having a website. But with advertising, I suppose I could redirect people to the website. What would be like octoskylanders.com or something along to that. So I think that's something you probably want to start, not necessarily the day 3 of you starting your eBay journey, or But if you are, I suppose, in that mindset where Leanne and Blake and myself are in, where we've been reselling for a bit, we're quite comfortable with the eBay platform. Leanne and myself have recently moved to Depop, so that's another. We've branched out from that perspective. Like Blake single-handedly took down Poshmark, so that's, you can blame him for them.
Yeah,
them
I'm kind of still worried that I had a finger in that, because that happened the week I started looking at it to work out if I was going to use it.
But like I was saying,
best thing that happened for my business was that shutting down, because I moved to Depop and it's been great. So.
But I think the other thing too is I just think not that you actually need to actively do it at the start, as you're saying, until but because the first thing you need to do is, of course, get good at selling on eBay. I mean, because you can have all the personality and logos and whatnot that you want, but if you're not actually doing good listings, well, you're going to fall over anyway. But just have it in the back of your mind that could be a natural progression, because I sort of have it in the back of my mind, especially with my brand that I've been building, is that if and when Whatnot comes to Australia, like that'll be good for me, because I've already got like a bit of a following, and if I start, I'll be able to say, Grumpy Granny's going to be doing an auction on Whatnot. And that would work really well, because people would come just to see what I'm doing on Whatnot, and maybe they might buy something.
That's right. Yeah. What about you, Blake? Would you do Whatnot?
I would, but I'd probably do it a bit differently to a lot of people. Like, I don't have a buy cost that's as low as like Leanne, for example, like where I can, do $1 starts or something like that. But I probably would do it. Like, I'd dip my toes in, like maybe once a month I'd do an auction or something like that. But I'd use it for a sourcing thing for me personally, because I think that it's a phenomenal opportunity to source some really good stuff to sell on eBay and Depop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if you go into a smaller person's auction, they're doing $1 starts and stuff, you can get something for under $5 that might sell for 30, 40, 50, 60.
That's right. You clean up. Yeah, and I suppose clean up. And watching the Whatnot shows that I watch in the States, even reasonably known YouTubers, like ADH Dave and Commonwealth Picker and all those different things, a lot of their stuff doesn't go for phenomenal money either. And they always say that, like, you're better off selling on eBay. But that's also another thing you can do. And I agree with Grady 100%, is that you want to get your eBay store done. So tonight, which would be about 4 days ago from when this show came out, like, I did an Octo short, a Dear Octo video about you. Make sure your store's safe, because you really got to be on top of it from the start, right? So I can see Granny's right in that respect. So you want to make sure the only thing I suppose you're responsible to when you first start eBay is the customer, right? Like, you need to keep the customer, like, even more so than yourself. Like, a lot of people say, hey, look, I'm accountable to my family, I'm accountable to these different things and all those different things. Above all that, on eBay, you're accountable to the buyer, right? Like, especially if you've got a brand new account, you screw over 5 people, you're gone, and you're not coming back to eBay. Like, you look at Chris Lynn, Daily Refinement. I'm not too sure about what he's up to at the moment, but he was quite big, and he actually spruiked eBay on a regular basis. And
he promoted eBay. Yeah,
that's right. So he was giving free advertising to eBay, telling people how to use the platform. Something happened, and then he's lost his access. Like, I'm not here to debate if that's right or wrong, but that like I said, that you as a brand new reseller that's doesn't know any different, there's no real excuse. So
no one's safe. No one's safe from it. Like, if you don't put the right steps in there to do the right thing, you're gonna be gone.
Yes. And you will hear, if you're new to the whole reselling world, you will quite often hear the terminology ding, as in ding,
you get a ding on your account.
And you get a ding on your account. And what we mean by a ding on your account is a black mark. So basically, if you do something wrong, if you do late postage, there are late postage dings. If you get an item not as described, so your listing has been crap, and what you've said in your listing doesn't match the item that the person received, they can do an item not as described. That's a ding. What other sorts of dings? Negative. If someone leaves you, if a buyer leaves you negative feedback, that's a ding.
So like, I suppose what you need to take away from that, the major thing, if it's a ding, it's a consequence, right? If you look at it from a consequence or a failing, and like I said, that you should avoid dings at all costs. Like, I'm notorious for late postage, right? So I've got like a 1% late postage rate, which is not bad, but not good in any capacity, right? Like, but by virtue of my volume that I do, is that keeps it quite low. If I sold one thing every 3 months, and I sent 3 things late, there's a good chance my account's gone, because I've fallen off the consequence scale or the ding scale. So that's something.
So I was going to say there are other cons with the late postage too. If you do get up to 5%, of late postage rate, then you will get charged extra fees for that when you're actually selling. Like every time you sell, the transaction fee that you pay eBay or that eBay takes out is a lot higher.
It's extra 5%.
Yeah, and I think I agree with a lot of people out there. If you fall to that below standard thing, eBay is probably not for you, and we don't need you as eBay sellers, and eBay doesn't need you as a seller as well. Is because when the way that people look, and this is what I was talking about branding for, is that when people buy off eBay, they don't buy off Groggy's Patch, they don't buy off Blake, or they don't buy off the Disgruntled Octopus, right? They buy off eBay. So they're not going to they're not going to run away and tell their friends, hey, look, I bought this off the Disgruntled Octopus, and his Skylander's a second to none. Or I bought jeans off Blake, or I bought vintage books off Granny. I bought this off eBay. Oh, where did you get that from, Granny? Oh, I bought it off eBay. They're not. This is what I'm trying to tell people, is that they need to start becoming more brand aware as well. Okay, because like I say, if Blake skips out on all his postage, or he does something shonky, then he falls below standard. Then someone has a negative experience with him, that obviously goes on social media. They'll spruik about it and all these different things. So that has that negative flow-on effect across eBay itself, right? So that person won't come back, and they're potentially telling a lot of other people. And depending on how influential they are in social media, they could severely damage the brand. And that also works for your brand as well. So if you are building, if you are building yourself like it's a YouTube personality, not to say an influencer or a high fame person, and then they say, oh, I bought off the Octopus and it rocked up in a garbage bag and it was completely smashed, or that they glued the shoes together and all these different things. But you also need to be aware of that, and you probably need to hold yourself to a higher accord. And that's what I try and do, right? So, like, what I expect if I receive something, if I buy off Amazon or if I buy on eBay, I always want to do at least 2 steps higher than what I received, right? So, I want people to actually get the things that I send and go, holy crap, this packaging's second to none, or this is the best thing, or the condition, like for DVDs, for example, that unless I physically owned it, if I physically unwrapped it off out of the plastic wrap, I'd put it as good. Even if it looks immaculate. So when the person gets it as the end, they go, holy crap, this is like new. It's not in good condition, all these different things. So you're actually reinforcing your brand subconsciously on that person, because then, if they see that little octopus emoji at the end of the thing, oh, well, I bought this DVD off him last time and it was fantastic. So this is, you need to look at it subconscious.
I think people have that automatic thing when they're grading, because, most of the stuff you sell on eBay, you're grading it yourself. So you're determining what the condition's going to be. And people think that if they put in very good or like new, that it's going to be better for them and attract the buyer. But in essence, you are putting yourself out there to fail, because they will be attracted to that because it might say very good, and it might be the only one of that type that's very good, and they buy it and they get it, and it's actually not very good. It's only good. Well, you're going to get a ding.
Case in point, right? Like I had a game that I bought early in the week for Skylanders, and was it listed very good or like new? I can't remember any.
Very good.
Very good. But when I got it, it was actually worse than I actually would put as an acceptable disc, right? So it didn't work. It wasn't tested at all. The way that Blu-ray discs work, if they got scratches in them, they're pretty much stuffed, right? So, like, if you're looking for Blu-ray discs and they got a scratch in it, throw it away. It's probably useless.
And like, boys and girls, how sometimes when you look at a CD, it's actually a little bit hard to see some of the fine scratches on it. It wasn't like that. You didn't have to hold it in the light and change the shape to see it. You could see all the scratches.
Yeah.
Someone grabbed the disc and rubbed it on gravel is what it was.
Well, I was going to say that. Blake's cut me out, but like I was going to say, it looked like someone used it on gravel as a stepping stone or something along the lines of that. But and I suppose to make matters worse, it was actually sent as an untracked letter. So I paid $75 for this letter, right? For this game, and then they sent it as untracked. So
I couldn't believe that.
So, like, this is, like I said, I'm not going to name the name because I've since reached out to that seller and they've been phenomenal. They resolved it very quickly, which, is the reason why I didn't leave any negative feedback or neutral feedback. I just left it as it was. Yeah, because like I said, if they had have just ghosted me, I would have opened up a 9 ad. Then hell have no fury like an octopus scorn. So I'd have to level up to the next disgruntled stage. But the thing is, like I said, that like mistakes do happen, right? And this seller was phenomenal. They were very apologetic. I offered to send it back. They gave me a refund. I'm still going to send the disc back regardless because I don't want to be associated. Or he just wanted it for free or something like this. And by virtue of sending it untracked, and I've said numerous times, you need to look at it, the tracked versus untracked. Like, you have to have a risk assessment, right? Like, I normally use $30 as my risk assessment. Sending an $80 game untracked is just inviting trouble, right? Because I could have easily said that it never arrived and this person has no proof that it did arrive, right? So I could have got my money back and kept the disc. But that's a story for another day. But you need to be very mindful of this. And then, like I was saying, when things went wrong, that she jumped in, she came to the up to the plate and rectified it quite quickly. So I was quite impressed with that. And like I said, that you're not going to get everything right, but you need to protect your brand, like what we were talking about with eBay, with the dings and all those different things. So
and that's one of my biggest things, and why I take the care with my books, and even the books that aren't all that expensive. I will treat a $30 book the same way as I will treat a $100 book. Because I want the person the other end to open that up and just get a very pleasant surprise when they get it, saying, oh, look how well protected this is. And that's one of the reasons why I make a sleeve and wrap all my books in cardboard rather than putting bubble wrap around them, because then they are so well protected if they get dropped.
Yeah, and your brand, whether it be your Instagram, YouTube, eBay, Depop, whatever your brand is one of your most valuable assets that you got. So you gotta protect that, because say I went out, like I'll just use YouTube for an example. I just did a completely big video, exposing someone like Daily Refinement or something like that for no reason. Then
exposing the disgruntled octopus.
Yeah. That's going to damage my brand, because it makes me look like that's going to make me look like a cynical prick, I guess. So, that's going to damage my brand. So I wouldn't do something like that. But same as eBay, you send, a VHS player in a satchel or something like that that's going to get smashed and damaged. That's going to affect your brand with eBay and with future sales, because you got that poor feedback. So it's it's your most valuable asset that you got. Yeah. So
and I'd probably say, I'm going to say at least 90% of my feedback in the comments has something in it with regard to how well packaged it was. I'm not blowing my own bag here. I'm just saying that's why I do what I do, because I then get that feedback, and someone else that's looking at buying from me, and there might be a book that they really, really want, but they're worried about how it's going to arrive. They've only got to look at my feedback to see how it's going to arrive.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there, Granny, is that quite quickly before we move to our favourite podcast of the week, Blake, I'm giving you 2 minutes warning before you have to pick out a podcast.
I've listened to it.
But what I was going to say before Blake rudely interrupted me with his lack of podcast knowledge is that, your feedback, like your brand and all these different things are quite important, right? So, I mentioned, in a short today that, probably a couple of days ago when you're watching this, is that I was selling Skylander pieces, which are a bit of plastic, which are no longer than probably 2.5 inches long. I sold one for $375. Do you think I would have been able to do that if I had really bad branding? If people associated the octopus with really shirty stuff, and it was all those different things. So you need to be, like I said, that because I actually sold it $50 more than the next competitor, because I had that branding. I had, I catered towards that customer base and all those different things. So, like I said, doing that little bit of research, a lot of people say it tech and sports and, Daily Refinement's doing that little bit of extra research and, identifying your customer and applying your brand to that customer, to what they need. And like I said, is that you kind of want to niche your brand. If you're selling clothes, list it across clothes. But then you find a video game, you're not going to try and push your brand across to that. You're spreading it too thin. But anyway, without saying that, I think, Granny, do you have a podcast for the week?
I do, and I was just bringing it up so I can explain it. So the one I would like to recommend is called Lights Out. So they have a new episode every Friday, and so it's always a dark and twisted journey filled with thrills and chills. That's what they say. So they'll choose a whether it's a past crime or something, or an event of something, which in the topics of occult hauntings, cryptids, alien abductions, serial killers, and demonic possession, that type of thing. And yeah, they're quite good. The thing I like with it too is that you can either just listen to it without actually watching it, but if you actually are watching it, it's good because they do have pictures and video and, different stuff that they put in it as well. It's good.
No, it's good. What about you, Blake, before I get into mine?
Yeah,
if you don't have one, it's fine.
No, I do. It's okay.
He was Googling.
No, I just remembered. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, all that sort of stuff. It's The Casual Criminalist. I think I mentioned it to you guys before, but I haven't on here. So it's basically a true crime podcast or, video thing where the guy, the host, he's funny as, just basically they go over cases and stuff. Like he's got different things on like John Wayne Gacy, but also different ones that are lesser known as well, and sort of puts his own comedic twist and comedy over the top of it. And it's really funny, actually. It's funny, but it's also it's respectful and not, funny when it needs to be.
Yeah.
As well. But the best thing about it is that he has script writers that write the things for him and do all the research and that for him, and him reading it is the first time he's read it himself. So you're getting his raw reaction and his thoughts on it as well as you go. So at the start, he might be like, "Oh, this guy's a knob," ha ha ha. And at the end, it's like, "Oh my god, like he's an absolute monster," kind of thing. So it's different things like that. So that kind of aspect is a really cool thing to listen to, and it's really funny, and also really informative as well. So that's my favorite one.
Well, that's good. Well, I suppose if you're a fan of Stranger Things, you may have heard of MK Ultra, and I won't say what that is because it'll probably get us banned off YouTube if I say what the drug is. But if you're in the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, you could probably work out what I'm saying. There's actually a podcast called Operation Midnight Climax, and it's not it's not as dirty as it sounds. It's basically the CIA agents used a certain drug called MK Ultra to do unwarranted experiments on people. So they would lace people's drinks with a certain chemical that probably make them a bit like hallucinogenic. Then they started reporting on different things. So MK Ultra, which was in Stranger Things, and that's how the character 11 came around. If you're that way into it, but it actually goes into a I think it's about a 6 or 7 parts podcast series. It's actually, I came across it on Apple, but I'm sure it's on the other platforms as well. But it is phenomenal, the amount of stuff that this one person, because he got brought onto the project because he had an interest in it. Then he kind of went a bit rogue and started drugging left, right, and centre without people knowing. And to say that he probably got away with a bit easier at the end, it is quite eye-opening. But Operation Midnight Climax, like I said, it's not dirty. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about it. The kids, it's quite clean, and the people that do that podcast I'll raise next week because they also do a fantastic podcast as well. But having said that, I think that's it for us for another week. Granny and Blake, anything parting you want to say?
I was going to say, I just hope I find the right episode if I look that up. I want to actually link the right one.
I'll tell you what, for those playing at home, I will put it in the description so you don't your parents don't
hold him to that though, because it might not
Well, yes, but I need to put Blake's gaming channel in and Operation Midnight Comics. But yes,
I hope you'd forgot about that.
I'll do it straight away.
I would just like to finish our little podcast by saying that I hope everyone's having a really good January. And if you are getting away for a little break, enjoy yourself, relax, and take your time out from your YouTube. You don't have to be doing it 24/7. Hence why we do talk about some different podcasts you can listen to. And I believe there's some people that are actually having a little break away that I do know, either over the weekend or, for a few days next week. So
I'm going away.
Yay. Enjoy it, relax, and have a good time.
That's right. And, but we're going to do another podcast, and I haven't asked Blake or Granny, but we'll record one before then. In case something happens to Blake, we've got an extra week to...
Will we now?
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you very much again for tuning into the Reselling Podcast Ever, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.